pelican. Pelicans are large water birds, and it's easy to recognize them. Not many birds have such long beaks. Can birds this big with beaks this long really fly? Watch. Taking off may be a little difficult, but once they're in the air, beautiful. Pelicans spend much of their time just gliding in the air. Pelicans often fly together in large flocks and build their nests together too, on sandy beaches or rocky shores. When that flap grows on the pelican's bill, it means that mating time has come. Pelicans build simple nests with just a few twigs and some grass. The pelican usually lays only 1 or 2 eggs, and she may sit on the eggs of other pelicans, not just her own. The pelican egg has a thick shell, but that doesn't keep the chick from hatching out. The baby pelican is born without feathers. The chicks are helpless and need to be protected and fed by their parents, and the food is usually fish. With that pouch under their bill, pelicans can just scoop up fish. And then it's feeding time for the little chicks. And so the chicks eat and rest and grow, while their parents watch over them and take care of them. They start getting feathers like their parents have. They can just about walk, but they can't fly, not yet. They still have a lot of eating and growing to do. The whole flock stays together on the shore while the chicks are growing up. The chicks stay close together too. The pelicans fish, the chicks eat, and get bigger and bigger. It's almost they have to burst. Are they ready? Not quite, but they will be soon. Learning to fly isn't easy, especially since the older pelicans don't teach their chicks. The chicks have to learn by themselves. It may take a few weeks, but after a lot of practice, they all fly. It won't be long before all the young pelicans have joined the flock for endless hours of floating on air. Pelicans.
Yeah. All right. So that's one film that we were able to show. The So I apologize for starting late. The computer, I don't know what was going on. I had to reboot, and then uh, OBS was acting weird, and all these things were acting weird, and so we're here, and we watched a film about pelicans. So thank God. So behind me is the film scanner, and we've been scanning some films that we show, and this was one of the ones that we scanned last week. It doesn't have a title. The title was clipped, and we're not sure if this is a government film or if this is just a film that's kind of a general interest film, but it involves Navy recruits, and I think it's before World War II. Could be wrong. Maybe you can help me figure this out. All right, enjoy. And it's not Cowboy Holiday. That was tacked on.
Applicants who pass the rigid entrance examinations are accepted for enlistment and then sent to a United States Naval Training Station to receive rudimentary instruction in naval discipline and to be taught and trained in preparation for their duties on board a modern man-of-war. Napoleon said, "An army travels on its stomach." Well, that holds good for the Navy, too. And these lads are receiving the first of many wholesome meals. Check and double check. Physical well-being is of vital importance. The Navy must be critical of its manpower, and it is. Every precaution is taken to prevent illness and spread of contagious disease. Skilled doctors and all the equipment of modern medical science are provided. Sound teeth are an asset to any man. Blue jackets seldom are seasick, but imagine being seasick and having a toothache at the same time. Training begins with a military haircut. Long hair, though it may be excellent for charming the ladies, has no value in the Navy. At sea, wet hair may fall into a man's eyes and impair his efficiency during moments of action. Each man receives everything he will require, from hat to socks. Also a complete outfit of bedding. Off go the old and on go the new. In his uniform, the recruit feels like an old salt. How to distinguish his uniform from that of his shipmates? That is a problem, but the answer is simple. Space is at a premium on board a naval ship, therefore Blue Jackets soon become experts at rolling their own. All seafaring men must sooner or later master the art of sleeping in a hammock. Recruits receive this phase of their training while still ashore. A little experimenting and his hammock becomes a Blue Jacket's best friend. While shipmates sleep, someone stands guard. This is an ancient feature of military life. Whether on land or sea, there is always that bugler to shatter sweet dreams with reveille. Training is now underway in earnest. Commencing with infantry drills, recruits are first taught the proper placement of their feet. Then to face and turn about in the military can function at peak efficiency without teamwork, order, discipline. The infantry is stressed at naval training stations because it inculcates those three qualities. And in addition, it teaches a cheerful, prompt obedience to orders while building healthy, rugged bodies. A bit awkward now, perhaps, but in a few weeks, their movements and cadence will be perfect and snappy. Jackets call this a galley, but just the same, it's still a kitchen, and what a kitchen it is. Great steam kettles, huge ranges, everything from a paring knife to a mechanical potato peeler. Enough food to serve 3,000 men is prepared for each meal. To avoid confusion in the mess halls, the food is served in cafeteria style. Books play an important role in the life of a modern blue jacket. On each ship, there are library facilities available. The lad seems to have plenty to write home about. Blue Jackets never miss an opportunity for a contest of skill. They have introduced American games in many parts of the world. Oftentimes, in a foreign port, a good game serves to break the ground for a common sense of friendship and understanding. The Navy has its horseshoe champs, too, but these men are just practicing. These boys hope to win a place on the fleet and ship teams when they go to sea. The heavyweight finals in the fleet championship, and may the best man win. In an emergency at sea, a blue jacket's life may depend upon his ability to remain afloat until he is rescued. For this reason, all recruits receive swimming lessons under the guidance of expert instructors. Each man's ability to swim is carefully checked. Swimming for a serious purpose now, but on board ship, swimming call is the signal for all hands over the side, and do they enjoy it? Jackknives and backflips, quite a contrast to the lads leaving their swimming lessons at the training station. The bugler may not be popular, sounds reveille, but when he plays movie call, well, look at this audience. The spiritual needs of the Blue Jackets are not neglected. Kindly chaplains with a wide and experienced knowledge of the problems of young men solicitously aid and advise the recruits in their new environment.
So, yeah, I don't think this was made by the Navy. I think this was made kind of as a general interest, like a newsreel type of thing. I'm not sure. But what's interesting is at the beginning, some of the film was actually shot at 18 frames a second, but was then printed at 24, so everybody's like going really fast. So I think, yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, it's a segment from a film, and it's excerpt. So I don't know. There was no information on the reel. There's no title, and so it's we don't know what to do. Like we can't figure out when it was made. We're guessing it was before Pearl Harbor, but I don't know because they're talking about recruitment versus being drafted. Who knows? But what I do know is that my mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. Enjoy.
Once upon a time, long, long ago, Marfa and Ivan had gone to the field. Varya was Marfa's and Ivan's little girl, 6 years old. Her legs were so short she had to run to keep up with her father's long steps. Varyachka, you are a little slowpoke, her father said. Then, laughing loudly, he swung her up on his where she had to hold tight. Varya had to stay behind her father, so he might have plenty of room to swing wide the newly sharpened scythe. Swish, swish, swish. Down came the wheat, faster and faster as he made his great strides. Varya held each bunch while her mother tied it. Today was the last day for gathering the wheat. Tomorrow the wagon would take it to the village. Tomorrow a wonderful feast day would come, and Varya could hardly wait. But to Varya, today seemed to be the longest and hottest day she had ever lived. Varya sat down by one of the stacks of wheat where it was cool and pleasant. Oh, how lucky I am, she thought, to be able to hide away from the hot sun. I will do this for just a few minutes. Soon Varya grew sleepy. And there, with the pleasant smell of ripe wheat all around her, she began to dream. She dreamed of the feast day. The feast always took place in the very heart of the village. Everybody was there. She dreamed of Tolya, the village leader who played the accordion. The minute his music started, the boys whistled, stamped their feet, and everybody clapped. Tolya stood in the center, all eyes upon him. Sing, sing, my friends, this is a holiday. The men and women danced as if they had wings that carried them swiftly by those that were watching. To Varya, it seemed that the older girls flew by like birds in the wind. Around their necks were many strings of beads, all streamers of many-colored ribbons. Varya kept asking her mother, when am I going to have a beautiful dance costume with lots of beads? And Varya's mother would say, when you are a grown-up young lady, Varya. Always, it seemed to Varya, she just could not wait until she was grown up. Suddenly, Varya opened her eyes and found she had only been dreaming of the feast celebration. She jumped to her feet and started to run toward her mother. But her mother was nowhere in sight. Mama? Mama? Mamuchka? But there was no answer. Nowhere could she see her mother. When it was almost dark, Varya stumbled into a clearing where several men and women had paused to gossip after the day's work. It took her only a second to see that these were strangers. One of the men spied her and said in a booming voice, "Oh, look what we have here." Everyone turned to Varya. Oh, poor little thing. She is lost. But the sympathy and strange voices made Varya want her mother all the more. She could not help crying. Little girl, they said. What is your name? Varya was too unhappy to answer. I want my mamuchka, she cried. Well, who is your mama? My mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. All the men and women smiled. The tallest man, Tolya, said, Aha! Now we have something to go on. This was long, long ago when there were no telephones and no automobiles. So if people wanted to see each other, they went on their own 2 feet. boys ran to village homes with orders to bring back the beautiful women. These were orders from Tolya, the village leader. All the women came running. As each beautiful woman came running up, blushing and proud that she had been so chosen, Tolya would say to her, "We have a little lost one here. Stand back, everyone, while the little one tells us if this is her mother." To Varya, this was very serious, for she was lost, and she was desperate without her mother. As she looked at each one, Varya shook her head in disappointment, and she sobbed harder. Soon, every known beauty from far and near had come and gone. Not one of them was Varya's mother. The villagers were really worried. They shook their heads. Tolya spoke for them. Well, you will have to take the little one home for the night. Tomorrow might bring some fresh wisdom to guide us. Just then, a breathless, excited woman came up to the crowd. "Varyachka," cried this woman. "Mamuchka," cried the little girl. And they fell into each other's arms. Varya cuddled into that ample and familiar bosom. The smile Varya had longed for was once again shining upon her. All the villagers smiled thankfully when Varya looked up and said with joy, This is my mother. I told you, my mother is the most beautiful woman in the world." The group of friends and neighbors, too, beamed upon each other as repeated the proverb which little Varya had just proved. We do not love people because they are beautiful, but they seem beautiful to us because we love them.
It's kind of a nice story. Just barely animated, though. Just barely. All right, what are we looking at? Did I show this? I need to figure this out. Things are so chaotic. Just threw everything off today. But I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Yeah, let's learn about Oregon and its natural resources. And this is probably a film that was made by an oil company. Enjoy.
In Oregon, that our early explorers, the Lewis and Clark expedition, each year send back a trusted scout. Mission: travel again the old Oregon Trail and return with the latest word on what is ahead for the Beaver State. To this pioneer scout of our legend, here is the new state of Oregon, south of the Columbia River in Washington State, west of farm-rich Idaho, north of sunburned Nevada and California, and clear to the wide Pacific, where a new frontier of opportunity in our United States, our vast natural resources are now being discovered and developed. To the nation, we're becoming known as the Eager Beaver State. 2 states
in one. Towering Cascade Mountains still divide our east from west, and our climate into moist and dry. Steep, rugged grandeur right down the center of the state. On eastern slopes, high plateau land, found to be perfect for dry dirt farming. Great rolling acres of grain and fine potato land. Crops to thrive with limited rainfall. On western Cascade slopes, warm Pacific currents still bring moisture to help us develop our rich earth into lush pasturage for dairy farming. And out of the weird spires and bleak rock crags of Central Oregon, a new treasure of minerals is flowing. Bucket-lined dredges scoop up tons of gold ore-bearing earth. Floating factories in the mineral fields. Tunneled from our painted hills are the ores of silica, silver, copper, lead, zinc, manganese, magnesite, perlite, and dictamite. Near Roseburg is mined the ore of that strange fluid metal called quicksilver or mercury. At Glass Buttes, Oregon, the hill slopes gleam with obsidian, natural glass created by volcanic explosions. Jewels of shining black, flashing red. Huge deposits of alumina, discovered near Portland, give promise for a great aluminum industry to come in a light metal world. From the basaltic cliffs of Oregon comes a strong material to build dams and bridges. Man-made stone. From mills like this busy cement plant here at Lyme. Out of the strata of minerals piled 30 million years high is pouring more and more riches through our Eager Beaver State Mineralogy. Research center of our state's mining industry is a $1 million laboratory operated in Albany, Oregon by the Federal Bureau of Mines. Working patiently, skilled mineralogists combine objectives of both science and industry to create a better way of life. Zirconium, germanium, beryllium, chromium, and thorium are among the metals produced here. All vital today in the manufacture of radio vacuum tubes and in atomic energy developments. The shape of tomorrow is being cast in pilot plants today. Research advances into nickel, lead, zinc, chromite, vanadium, fluorine, platinum, and high iron content bauxite. The Oregon Mineral Trail is well on its way toward the light metal era ahead. And we shall owe much to the pioneering efforts of Bureau of Mines scientists at Albany and to our tireless prospectors who still search the mountains of Oregon for new treasures. On western slopes of these Cascade Mountains still rises another Oregon treasure. Trees, watered by rain winds from the sea. As in the days of our earliest explorers, here is the year-round greenery. Vast forests of towering Douglas fir, of tall spruce, hemlock, and pine, of the fragrant cedar. More stands of virgin timber than in any other state of the Union. Here, in the most perfect climate for growing trees, timber is raised as a crop, to be harvested on a far-sighted schedule by the lumber companies, cooperating to keep Oregon green. Tree farms nurse seedlings which will be transplanted to grow new forests for our grandsons. From watchtowers strategically placed in all wooded areas, alert rangers forever scan the landscape for that telltale wisp of smoke, the terrible warning signal that the greatest menace to our forest heritage is on the prowl. Fire. scorched earth, funeral pyre to a careless flame. Here are the black scars of the 1933 calamity at Tillamook, worst in Oregon's history. 10 billion board feet of saw timber were seared to the soil. But from the grim ashes of desolation rises the timber for tomorrow through our unending reforestation. Today and forever, the ring of the axe echoes through these fabulous woods where you pioneers 100 years ago hunted the beaver. Now, more and more lumbering processes are being mechanized, speedier and easier methods, through the miraculous power of modern machinery. Millions of board feet of lumber every year calls for special mechanical equipment. This strange vehicle was invented by a group of clever native sons who knew just what was needed: fast pickup. Oregon lumber is hammered into the homes of our nation. Worked into exquisite forms, art creations which go out as goodwill ambassadors of Oregon, is the rare wood of the myrtle tree, treasured for beauty and lasting utility. New exciting use of wood scraps, once discarded as useless waste, is made possible through wallboard. After chips have been shredded, the wood shavings are squeezed together in a hydraulic press under terrific pressure. Wood fibers are compressed into a composite board, rivaling the strength of standing timber. New methods for making plywood have created another important industry in Oregon. Great peeler logs are now pared like apples into thin sheets which are welded together into solid walls of wood, strong and beautiful. From the products of Oregon's forests now come much more than beaver skins for the felt hats of yesterday. From flat, arid eastern plains, over which you early Oregon trailers kept on rolling because you thought this dry wasteland untillable, also rises a new harvest. Here, our yield of wheat per acre now compares favorably with the best harvests of the Dakotas. Huge mechanized combines reap and thrash vast fields in record time. This high plateau land is ideal for mechanized farming equipment. On 65,000 farms, brightening more than 20 million acres, oats are another important food crop. With our average summer temperature hitting just 67 degrees, and in winter holding a 30-degree average, Oregon offers just about ideal agricultural conditions for rapid crop production. In the western section around Salem, barley does exceptionally well. Alfalfa, which you pioneers never heard of 100 years ago, feed for our farm animals, along with our great hay harvest. Fields of fragrant clover, a soil-restoring rotation crop, also provide our farmers with more than 1 million pounds of clover seed to sell each year to farmers in other states. 20,000 acres are planted to sugar beets. From this root crop comes sugar, sweet as a cane of Cuba. More than 2,500 acres of crisp green lettuce are packed each year, ready for market when other lettuce fields have gone to seed. Potatoes, more than 40,000 acres of the tubers, averaging 160 bushels from each acre. Tribute to our soil of volcanic ash and sandy loam. Perfect for all root crops, including the squash, so amusingly named by Oregon's early Indians. Along the Oregon coastline, fertile soil and moist climate make the Pacific Highway a path through a fragrant flower garden. The bulbs of these lilies are sold to gardeners the world over. Near Portland are shimmering fields of tulips. At Grants Pass, where once mighty forests grew, now bloom a crop of gladiolas that yield a greater profit to the bulb growers than was earned from the standing timber. In Oregon, roses blossom red all year round. Our annual festival in Portland, world-renowned as the City of the Roses, is a mecca for flower lovers. World famous, too, is Oregon's fruit. $4.5 million worth. A peach of a crop. Our luscious Anjou pear is also becoming known from coast to coast as the perfect Christmas gift from the Northwest. A pear-shaped $12 million a year. There's a saying, if it comes from a tree, it probably grows in Oregon. Our wonderful Hood River apples stem from 800 original seedlings and a few grafted trees you early pioneers trekked over the Oregon Trail in 1847. From other eastern Oregon trees come English walnuts, now known as Oregon walnuts. Our Beaver State is the largest producer of filberts, sometimes known as hazelnuts. Bing cherries from the Dalles are an all-year-round crop. No more does America import from Italy 90% of its maraschinos. They now come from Oregon, as do blackberries, raspberries, gooseberries, and strawberries. An annual crop valued at $3.5 million and extending the old Oregon Trail into the lives of people everywhere, bringing them new enjoyment and health through the fruits of our eager Beaver State. To deliver the fruit of our trees in perfect freshness, great factories close to our orchards work around the clock, processing to perfection. In refrigerated trucks and railroad cars, some quick frozen and the rest canned, those treats travel a new Oregon Trail of good taste. Our turkeys, too, are now traveling high, wide, and handsome, range-fed for some holiday table, far, far away. Approximately 250,000 head of sirloin steaks raised on the good grass and sweet water of Oregon ranges each year, give us a gross return of about $60 million. On the year-round evergreen pasture land of our moist western meadows, 250,000 milch cows now graze. Dairy ranchers, they're never called farmers in Oregon, sell most of the rich Jersey milk and cream at Tillamook. Here is churned the famous Tillamook cheese. In pioneer days, a slice of Tillamook was literally worth its weight in gold, and was so traded, even Steven. From Pendleton, Oregon in the north, to the Nevada line in the south, now graze our flocks of prized sheep. Our sheep herders are descendants of the black-eyed Basques who came here from Spain, and still retain the language and customs of the Pyrenees. Raising sheep, shearing them, and then weaving the wool into Oregon-designed garments. We're one of the few American states to do the entire process within our own borders. More swimsuits are woven in Portland than anywhere. Fishing boats put out from Coos Bay, Oregon for offshore operations. All in all, our wonderful fishing resources add up to a $25 million a year industry, which also delivers to the nation albacore tuna, sturgeon, bass, and shad. Watch the leaping fish. To help our fabulous salmon get upstream over the high dams built across their spawning bed rivers are specially constructed fish ladders, another effort to conserve the natural resources of the old Oregon Trail. One natural resource in Oregon where we can't improve upon nature is the Deschutes River, the only stream in the world which practices its own flood control. Here, spongy banks absorb all overflow, which then seeps back into the river to keep its flowing waters at a constant level. The Oregon Water Trail is leading our state to power and productivity. Undreamed of is.
Reclamation projects, such as magnificent Bonneville Dam on our side of the Columbia River, transforms our flowing mineral into electric power. And in addition, along others of Oregon's rivers like the Klamath and the Rogue, other man-made barriers harness the water for power. Power to travel through high-tension cables to all parts of Oregon.
Behind our dams, great reservoirs store the water for irrigating the once dry fields of the Beaver State. Through irrigation ditches in the Deschutes Valley, in our John Day country, and on the plateaus of Central Oregon, reclamation is producing new treasures to travel over the modern Oregon Trail from thousands of acres that were once arid wastelands. The old trail is now paved for high-speed progress from seaside to riverside. And across our mountains, a 7,000-mile network of modern highway to move Oregon traffic to the far reaches of the nation. Through the locks of our engineered waterways, out of the ports of our harbor cities, ships the cargo produced from Oregon's natural resources. From outside Oregon are imported the resources we lack. High in dollar volume are the precious petroleum products, which must be brought into Oregon from California. Diesel fuel, lubrication for our motors, gasoline for our cars. Through these vehicles of modern transportation, the pioneer villages of Oregon are now just ghosts of the old days. New cities and towns grow and prosper in their places along the Oregon Trail of today. Astoria, seaport city, first permanent settlement in Oregon. With its ferry boats and fishing fleets, Astoria is a far cry from its original fur trading post founded by John Jacob Astor in 1811. Portland, here an ever-growing, vigorous population creates an industrial capital of the Northwest, as well as an important cultural center of artistic and intellectual leadership. Klamath Falls near Lake Klamath is now a wealthy business center, marketplace for lumber, cattle, sheep, and a city of attractive homes. Salem, on the Willamette River, is now our state capital. Here proudly rises the symbol of Oregon. New forms from old traditions, always the pioneer. Eugene, in the upper Willamette Valley, is a center of learning. Here is the University of Oregon, now spreading over a 100-acre campus from its humble beginning in 1876. Corvallis to the north is the site of Oregon State College, which started as a community school in 1852. Oregon, though one of the youngest states in the Union, is second in literacy. 99% of Oregonians can read and write. In proportion to our population, there are more schools in Oregon than in any other state of the Union, and twice as many hospitals as the national average. Churches of all faiths grace our every community. Spires rising in answer to the prayers of the 4 Indians who retraced the early Oregon Trail to St. Louis, Missouri, to ask for what they called a Christian book. There is a spiritual quality in the scenery of Oregon. In the mystic stillness of Crater Lake, high in an extinct volcano, a mind can know the truth. Here is solitude, far-reaching and forever. There are beautiful dreams to find in the blue depths of Clear Lake. Water, 40 degrees cold. And crystal, down to 40 feet. There's peace of mind in the full quietness of huge Lake Klamath. Calm inland sea along whose shores even baby pelicans can walk unafraid. Along the agate seashore from Columbia Beach at the river's mouth to Gold Beach, where the Rogue River plunges to sea, there's a white sand and blue Pacific to create a paradise of simple pleasures for Oregon's people. Seal Beach, Oregon, is for other sun worshippers. Here are heard of about 300 sea lions come each year for wintering in the ocean caves of our coast after a summer in Alaska. Up the Rogue River, a rainbow and speckled trout, and a sea of salmon in ocean and stream. We go for spectacles and neighborly get-togethers. In Oregon City, south of Portland, each year, our Governor's Horse Guard climaxes our centennial celebration to honor our pioneer tradition. At our famous Pendleton Roundup, the whole state turns out to see the same pioneer daring in action. Taking a chance for a prize. The unbroken spirit of Oregon is as alive as the wild horses which still roam our hidden valleys. Our youth grow up with the energy of the nimble deer in our virgin snowy woods. Our recreational resources are as joyfully free as the wild ducks, geese, and pheasants which soar and dip over the bird sanctuaries of our reedy marshes. The four seasons of Oregon give our people an exciting vitality. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Oregon, state of great natural resources, of mountain mines and valley forests, state of good people. Good Americans who, like you early pioneers, will bear no prejudice against any man for his race, his color, or his creed. Look into their faces to see what is ahead for the Oregon Trail. A state of plenty, of butter and cream, of potatoes and greens, of bread from great fields of amber wheat, of honey-sweet beet sugar, of delicious fruits, of filberts and walnuts, and red, red roses, of Oregon turkeys for our feasts of Thanksgiving. Yes, take back the word, pioneer scout of our legend. This is the end only of our centennial report to you, not the end of our Oregon Trail. There are many great things ahead for this eager beaver state along our trail to tomorrow.
Yeah, so Richfield Oil did that. And it seems like there's a whole series of these that are done by different oil companies, like Humble Oil, Standard Oil. I don't know what the deal was, but it's interesting to kind of see. And while you were watching this wonderful film about Oregon, the film scanner behind me, I had the take-up reel was too small, and I was basically film was just pouring out onto the table. It's been one of those days, and I appreciate your patience in watching the films today. Tomorrow's going to be better. It's got to be better as far as technology goes. Maybe I'm just off because it's Monday and it's kind of gray outside. But I appreciate you watching and your comments. And I appreciate you when you hit the like or the subscribe button. Or if you donate via the Super Thanks button. Or go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. But just being there and enduring what I endure is also a great way to support us, because I feel like you're there in the room with me and you're watching me go like, ah. So thanks so much. We will see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. I hope it goes better than mine. Nowhere but up. That's what we're going at today. So thanks again. We will see you soon. Take care.